Hey guys, it's Doodly Squatch. Got a fun doodle and some story time. Let's do it. All right, here we go. So today's doodle is based off of a number of sketches I've been doing while things were slow at work. I start with a rectangle or a square, and I try and put a skull inside and give it an interesting look. And then I really tried to make this one like a painting. So we'll see how I do. I like how it turned out, but it's funny. My son, when he speeds these up, he'll give them names, and this one he calls Green Mug. So I thought that was kind of funny. That it could be a mug. There is a massive fly in my office, and it keeps flying by me. And I wish I could catch it so I could smash it. But I don't want to reenact that episode of Breaking Bad. So there we go. A little bit of soda. Today's thought experiment. I was bouncing around before settling down to record. Thought of if I could speak to my younger self and give me advice, what that would be like, what I would say, or more interestingly, what I was thinking is how would my younger self take that advice, knowing how many youths are when an adult tries to sit them down. It's like, you know what you should do, you should. So it's kind of funny. So, kind of tempering my advice with that in mind. Also considering that I'm fairly happy with how my life has been. So, how drastically would I want to alter how things are? Would I like it better? Would I not? The whole time travelers problem. So I got to thinking, the when would the best time be to talk to younger me? When was I more set in my ways or less set in my ways, I guess. So it got me to thinking, around 4th grade. So let's see, when you're in 4th grade, you are in 1st you're 6, in 7th you're 7. I mean, no, oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind, guys. 1st grade you're 6. 6 turning 7. 2nd grade you're 8. 3rd grade, I don't know. Oh gosh, okay, 4th grade. So like 10 years old. I don't know. But 4th grade is when we had first moved into our new hometown. So the place that I spent all of middle school and high school. And it's when I would say the caliber of my initial childhood friends was different. Oddly enough, in the small town I grew, my formative early years, from 3 to about 9, most of the kids, at least that I knew, we were all kind of on the same page. Such and such was bad, this was good, we like doing this, and the weird thing was none of us swore, nobody cursed. And so that was an interesting thing in 4th grade when I moved to this town. First kid I met, a kid named Matt, in my neighborhood. This is when our neighborhood was just barely starting to be built, so there weren't a ton of houses. So you'd notice another kid on a bike, and he rolls up on his bike. Hey, I'm Matt. We'll hang out. And so we hung out, and he showed us, places in the desert that were cool to check out, and where we could find big tumbleweeds and all that. But first thing I noticed, kid swore. And it was kind of funny seeing how, slowly that got to me, and soon enough, my brothers and I were cursing like sailors and tra la la, the usual tween kind of thing. But so around that time would probably be the best time, to at least try to intervene once. And I guess my advice to that age, 4th and 5th grade me, would be don't get too hung up on the people that you're around at school right now, because soon you're going to a middle school that's on the other side of the desert, and most of these kids you're not going to see again till high school. So it doesn't matter what they think, doesn't matter what rumors they spread about you, that sort of thing, and don't sweat the small stuff so much. I'd say the thing that takes longest for us humans when we're growing is to recognize how very little we matter in other people's kind of everyday. At least, especially in the adult world where, you just, I see so many people in a day. I don't give them a passing thought, unless they do something to really imprint themselves on me or to leave a bad enough impression. I usually don't think about, whom I see, on an everyday basis, just because there's so many people. And it just doesn't feel like that when you're in school, because you're around the same group all the time. And so, that's your own little like microcosm. All these people are so important because I see them every day, and they probably talk about me when I'm not around. And then eventually you realize that doesn't really, most people have their own worries, own thoughts, own just insecurities to deal with, that they aren't thinking about you. And I'd say the quicker I learned that, the better. So that would be another thing I would try to impress on young me. And then I would probably maybe hop forward to like 14-year-old me, end of 8th grade. And I think my advice then would be, you need to get a hold of your anger management. You need to, it's like you feel very strongly about a lot of things, and a lot of times it's just wasted energy, and it's better to just, you can think what you think, other people can think what they think, and it doesn't have to be some, massive deal. Or, if someone's a jerk to you, then, whatever, they're a jerk, move on. And if, for me, learning how to kind of curtail my temper would do me wonders later in life. For me as I am now, it took a while. I didn't really accept that I was in need of any kind of like medication until I was, in my 20s, and then even then, I thought I had the genie in the bottle, but no, I still had quite the temper, quite the skewed view of my emotions. And more so it was I'd say things to be funny and to relieve tension on myself, but they were violent sounding. It comes from 90s comedy, watching Major Payne, and just the funny things he would say, get about my face before I pick you up and throw it out the window, or hold it or I'll rip it off and kick it all over the ground, just these words that to me were just so funny. And but to bring that into the real world, and a lot of times people don't get that you're attempting to be funny, or I don't know, so a lot of misunderstood things, a lot of miscommunications, and just, overall trouble for myself and my family. So it would have, it would be good to talk to young me and try and, corral those horses earlier. I would say that, that would do me a lot of good. So, that's the kind of advice I give my children. And I guess that's essentially what brings this to mind for me when, I'm thinking. It's almost like I'm talking to my own kids. Like any parent does, you're trying to, sort of prevent the pratfalls that you had, and, allow your kids to, grow, but to at least have a little more information. It's hard to think of like specific, because as much as I enjoy my current, career and how well it's, taken care of me and my family and paid for a home, tra la la, I feel like if I were to encourage my younger self to pursue, art more as a career, that would change a lot. I probably wouldn't have, started having children as early as I did, or, live where I currently live, that sort of thing. So, it's like, as wistful as it might sound, it's like, I'm not, I'm okay. I'm not, I'm not super torn on not having some massive art career. The more artists I get to know, the more it's, you learn that it's a very, transient kind of career choice where you're constantly moving and, getting new jobs at new companies, and, or you're freelancing and you're having to sell yourself essentially, and, get people to want to pick you up. And, for me, I'm happy with kind of a, more set in stone. I know where I am and I know where I'll be kind of career. But it's a fun thought experiment, I guess. It's very thought provoking and enjoyable to think about whilst checking out this groovy green skull I did. It kind of, my son says it kind of looks like The Mask, and I can't disagree with him. But I'm happy with how it turned out. I feel like I got a decent painterly look out of it. It feels like I could have done this with some gouache or something like that. So yay me. Toot my horn a little bit. I feel good about this one. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys listening. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. But if not, whatever. Hey, have a great day. Bye.